Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we're taking a look at the Millennium Falcon from the new Star Wars Mission Fleet line. You can see in the little window down here that Han Solo is included. Try to zoom in on that there. It's a little hard to see him, he's kind of recessed in there, but tiny little 2.5 inch action figure. He does come with his blaster as well. Again, kind of hard to see just because he's recessed and there's no light in there, but really like the artwork here on the front of the box. I think that looks really cool. You can see it has the little like escape pod or whatever that we saw in the Solo movie in the front section of the Millennium Falcon there. On the top, you can see some other vehicles that are available. You have Vader's TIE Fighter, you have a Jedi Starfighter, and you have an X-Wing. Not too much going on the bottom. Over here shows off some of the features. You have the cockpit opening, you have the little like galley area where they can kind of play the chess game, and then you have some firing missiles. And then over on this side it shows how that escape pod piece kind of comes out to become like a little, it looks almost like a tank vehicle, so that's interesting. And it does say Star Wars A New Hope down here, which I think is kind of cool. And this is supposedly actual size, so that's kind of neat. Everything in here is actual size, it says. So there's the little pod, there's the figure, missiles, missile launcher, and then the Falcon itself. So very cool. I like the packaging. I think it gets the job done. Very cool artwork on the front. I like the little window to see the figure as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here's everything you get in the box. We'll start over here with Han Solo. I think he looks cool. I really like the art style they've chosen for these little figures. And I kind of like little 2.5 figures, but they're not, like, they don't have the distorted proportions the way that Galactic Heroes did or Play School Heroes. The weapons can actually come out of their hands, which I appreciate. They have more articulation. So, I don't know. They're just kind of, you know, tiny characters, but they're evenly proportioned, which I like. So, I think he looks good. He has a ball joint for the head, so that can move all the way around. You have a hinge at the shoulder as well as a swivel. You have a wrist swivel, and then you have independent leg movement, which is pretty cool. Now, unfortunately, he does have a holster molded on his side, but the gun cannot fit into it. It is solid. So I wasn't really expecting it because it was so small, but I would have loved it if it was possible. But as you can see, it's pretty massive, but that would have been really, really awesome if you could have done that. But it's all right. I understand. But either way, I love that he comes with the blaster. I like that you can take it in and out of his hand. It's not molded in there. So, a really cool little Han Solo figure. I like it quite a bit. We'll put him off to the side for a moment so we can check out the rest of the Falcon here. Now, here is the little... I used the term escape pod initially, but I don't even know if I would do that. It's just kind of like a little module, vehicle module. This is a little loose, but I don't think this comes out. This little part back here opens up like so. Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to. Maybe you could push it out, but I don't think you're supposed to. So it's got a little gun on the front here. They want you to also take this turret off and plug this on the front as well, just to give it a little bit more build up, I guess. You can see that there's a little peg here, so what we can do is if we bring Han back in, take the gun out. You can either peg him in right there onto that little peg. I promise it can be done. There we go. And then you can put his hands on these controls on this other gun, like so. And he can ride it around like that and fire and even kind of turn it a little bit. Or you can take him off of this, take this off, and then bend his legs, and they'll actually fit inside here, and you can have them go around like this. Now, if you want to still leave this thing on top, you can, but you can see it kind of gets in the way of his head, and also he wouldn't be able to see over it, so I feel like you need to take that off if you're going to sit him down like this. I think this is kind of ridiculous. If they were going to open this up and make it so that the whole character could fit inside, so then it truly was like an escape pod, I think that might have been neat if they would have made it a little bigger and just made it so you could fit the entire character inside. It almost looks like you could if they had opened it up all the way. You can see it stops about halfway down. But if they had made it so that he could fit all the way inside and then it could close up and then it could shoot out and be like an escape pod, I think that might have been more fun. But you can feed this in between the two front parts of the Falcon. It just kind of hangs there. It kind of clips in snugly, don't get me wrong. It's not going to fall anywhere. It's not going anywhere. But that's all it does. It just kind of sits there. So I'm going to take that out and put that off to the side. It's okay. It's neat. I don't think it's amazing. Maybe you could pretend it's like a drone or something and just kind of have it patrol the perimeter after they land or something like that. And, you know, because it does have a gun on it. I don't know. Just trying to make up stuff here. Let's put Han off to the side again. We'll check out the Falcon here. Now you can see we do have 4 missiles, 2 sets of each. There are 2 that look like this and 2 that look like this. And how it works is there are 2 spots right here in the front, so the longer ones you put in here. I don't know that it necessarily matters. If you take a look, the ends look the same, so I would imagine you could mix and match. I don't think it matters, but the directions tell you to put the 2 longer ones in here, and then you can see these red buttons here on the front, and there's just spring-loaded missiles, so you just press that down, and that fires. So that's pretty cool. Of course, you do have this turret I showed you earlier. The smaller ones go in here. Again, you just pop it in, and then you have 1 button on top here. I guess this one wasn't in all the way. There we go. Now it's not working so great. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. That one's not working so great on mine. Kind of a bummer. I don't know. I wonder if the spring's bad. This one works good, as you can see. I'm not really sure why this one's not working. Yeah, I don't know. There's not any other buttons, so it's just the 1 button on top. It's supposed to fire both of them. You can hear it click in well enough. Oh, there it goes. Maybe just over time. Yeah, I don't know. It's not so great. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's probably just the spring on mine is a little wonky. Hopefully they're not all like that. Hopefully that's just mine, but you can see sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, it's 1 button to release both of them. And then this little turret, you can plug in anywhere. It has one of these ports. So you could put it here. You could put it here. You could put it over here. You could put it here. Again, you could put it on this when this is connected back to the front if you want. Obviously, I would put it here because this is where it goes on the Falcon traditionally. That is where the turret is. I was going to say they should have put another port down here so you could plug it underneath if you wanted, but you can see they've kind of molded in a gun turret down here. And I wanted to show this off real quick. Underneath, there's no landing gear that pops out. It's just kind of molded in. There's some detail down here, though. You can see a little bit of paint, red, and things like that. So they did a good job molding underneath. And I think this is just one big sticker back here for the engine output. But, yeah, it's not terribly in scale. And there's no ramp. The ramp doesn't come down at all or anything like that. You can put a figure in the canopy in here, which we'll show off in a minute. But just to kind of, like, the scale is not perfect, as you can see. Even if there was a ramp, I mean, it would be very, very difficult to get him in there. But I get it. It's kind of a stylized line. I don't think it's going to be kind of 100% in scale with the figures and whatnot. I don't really blame it for that, to be honest. It does come with a little satellite dish, which you just pop on. You have to connect that yourself, but it can rotate around a little bit, so that's kind of cool. You can open this up, and I'll be honest with you, another reason to keep this on here, because trying to open this without having that to attach to is almost impossible. But if you just put this on, then it's very easy to get open. And you can sit 1 character down in there. So if we take Han and we put up his legs, he sits down in there. And there are 2 little handles for him to hold on to. It's not super snug, but it's just kind of like a guide. Here, let me bring his arms in a little bit more. So that just sits in there. And there we go. So if you can see that, it's very dark in there, but he just sits in there. And I do like that they gave you some more leg room in case you have some taller characters like Chewbacca or other people who have longer legs. And actually, I'll just show you right now, because we've already reviewed Chewie, and of course, with the Falcon, he's got to come in at some point. I mean, come on. Got to do it. So let's go ahead, and not that he ever really fires the lasers, but I just want to show off that he can fit. Now, getting his hands onto those 2 things might be a little bit more difficult, but no, not too bad. So there you can go. You can see, and there's still even more room. So here, let me see. Do I have my little? Let me get my little light out as I kick the camera all around. Here it is. So, shine some light in there. You can see plenty of room. Even his feet, which are definitely longer than Han's, not a problem. And then you can close it up. So a character can ride around in there. You can pretend he's firing the gun, which is very, very cool. Go ahead and take him out of there for now so he doesn't rattle all around. The other things you can do, open up the back here. This top part lifts off. And they put in the chessboard. I feel like it's a rule. Every Falcon toy for the rest of time must have the chessboard accessory. It must just be something very simple and easy for them to do that they can be like, that was in the movie. So you can have the characters. There's not really any chairs or benches, which I thought was interesting. But they can stand around the table and play. So let me move this. There you go. They can have a meeting around. And I mean, you can stand a bunch of characters in here. Again, there's really not much going on inside here. It's kind of bare bones. There's literally, I guess, are these supposed to be benches? I guess they are, but then why wouldn't you put this closer? I feel like if you're going to make that a bench, which I guess you could have it. I mean, really, it's the contour of the ship. But if you want to double it as a bench, I think that works. And you can pretend like they're sitting on that. But then why wouldn't you, like, I can probably take this out. How difficult is it to wiggle this out of here? Not terribly difficult. So if it was, say, right... Whoops, I knocked it over. So let's say if it was more in this area, if it was moved a little bit closer, maybe it would have been too difficult or something like that, but you could kind of get the character in like that, and then you could have him sitting there and pretend he's at the table. Like, I feel like that would have worked a little bit better. Now, you still wouldn't have had a bench on the other side, so it would have been kind of moot. But just kind of odd placement. But they really didn't do much else. I mean, it's really just kind of storage. You can throw characters in there. I would say you could easily fit... I mean, let's just see. We'll throw Han and Chewie in here just to use as a metric. I mean, you could probably fit at least 3, 4, maybe even 5 more characters in there if you really wanted to. Just laying them down just to really, like, pack them in, fit them in. The other thing is, if you have the little vehicles or things from the other characters, you could store these in here. Still plenty of room. So you get a nice bit of capacity back here, I should say. So I think that's pretty cool. You could store extra missiles in here if you wanted, if you want to keep track of the missiles. So there's a lot of room back here, which I appreciate. I wish there was a little bit more in the way of design, like seats, or bring this a little bit closer, pretend this thing over here is a bench. It almost looks like they kind of did, because they kind of molded upholstery onto it. At least that's what I think that's supposed to be. I don't know. I just feel like you could have done a little bit more. Maybe put some computer monitors or something. I don't know. Just do something. Give us a little bit of detail in there. Not terrible, but I feel like they could have done a little bit more. And then lastly, the last play feature, you can go ahead and put Han in the cockpit. So we're going to go ahead and open this, which is a little bit easier said than done. But you lift this up, and I know what you're thinking. How in the heck are you ever going to get him in there? This actually lifts up too. So I appreciate that. You go ahead. Let's take Han. Lift up his hands, lift up his feet. He fits in here. I guess we want to lay him back a little bit. There we go, like that. And then fold this closed. It's a little weird the way they have him, like he's really laid back, but he does fit in there. So you can have him pilot the ship. And I mean, sure, it would have been great if you could put Han and Chewie in here, but I'll be honest, even with Lego sets, I feel like it's difficult for them to fit multiple people in the cockpit. No one's really figured out how to do, like, maybe the vintage collection, I'd have to look into that. But there is some stickering up here. You can see they actually did some detail, which I appreciate. Wanted to point that out for all the different knobs and switches and whatnot, which is pretty cool. And there is some molding as well on the side there, as you can see. And I do think this actually looks pretty cool. Again, there's some stickers. And they do have 2 sets of, like, I guess joystick, controller, whatever you would... What do they call this in a plane? I feel like there's a word for it, and it's just completely escaping me right now. The stick? I don't know. The controls. I don't know. I'm sure there's a technical name for it, and I'm just completely blanking on it, so forgive me. In any case, there are 2 of them, even though there's no way 2 characters are going to fit in there. I feel like there's no way, like I should say, toy makers really struggle with keeping this proportionate to the size of the toy, but trying to fit more than 2 characters in there. And I think it's just a scale thing, you know, to make this large enough to fit 2 figures and still make it size proportional to the rest of the Falcon in scale. You'd have to make the Falcon so much larger that it's not going to work. And like I said, this toy is not in scale, but it's not hardly out of scale. I think it's kind of a stylized, scale for these kind of figures. But I have to be honest, I think it's got a pretty good amount of play features. I do like the 2 sets of firing missiles. You have the radar dish. You can fit a character in here. You can fit a character in the gunner seat. You can definitely fit a few characters in the back here. They didn't do much with the back area, but they threw that chest table in because that's like an easy, iconic staple of the Falcon. No landing gear, but I find myself not really missing it. I don't really feel like it's necessary. We did get this little thing. It's okay. It can fit in here, which I think, coming off... Well, I guess Solo was a decent number of years ago at this point, but still, I feel like they draw inspiration from that, having that little, like, escape pod type module there. Like I said, I wish it was a little bit larger, even just a little bit longer. If you could actually put a character all the way inside and close it up, and then it would feel more like an escape pod, I think that would be more fun. Just having it be like a weird little tank for him to ride around in with his feet. Like he puts his feet in and then he's just hanging out the top. It's not very protective as far as tanks go. But I guess if he just stands on this as well, it's kind of the same thing, just a little vehicle. It's something. It's not bad. It doesn't wow me, but I don't hate it. It's just kind of very middle of the road, in my opinion. But I do like the Falcon overall. I think what you get is pretty decent. The price point is $39.99, which kind of seems, a bit expensive. Not crazy expensive for what you get. I think it's a pretty decent price, considering if you would think the equivalent of, say, maybe this was the vehicle and the character would be maybe $7.99, something like that. Throwing in the rest of this vehicle. I mean, the vehicles are, I believe, like the X-Wing and the Jedi Starfighter, I think are $19.99, so this is probably twice as much as that. But I definitely think it's bigger, and I think it's got a pretty decent amount of play features. So, I mean, maybe they could have got away with it for $30. That's about as cheap as I think you could go with this. I think if it's not $40, I think $30 is probably the cheapest you could go, but I don't think $40 is outrageous. Plus, I always give Hasbro a break on stuff they have to license from Disney. So I feel like that Disney dollar is built into the price because they have to pay, boku bucks to Disney to be able to license these things. But overall, I really do think this is fun. I'm really liking this line so far. I really enjoy the little stylized figures. I like that they're proportional and they're not like chibi or distorted the way Galactic... I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to hate on Galactic Heroes or Play School Heroes. I really enjoy them. I still really like them. I just think it's neat to change it up a little bit. And, having these figures, kind of in scale with each other, like these two look great together. Definitely in scale. Let's say what, he's probably about half a head taller. I think that's perfect. So I think they're really fun. I like the animation style for the figures. I like how they are articulated. I like the accessories they come with. The vehicles seem fun. Yeah, I don't really have too much to complain about. I mean, could they have done more? Sure. If they wanted to round this thing up to 50 and maybe give us some more accessories in the back, or just mold it in detail, or maybe make it so the characters could actually like plug in and sit in there. They could have done maybe a little bit more inside here, as far as maybe put a computer screen or at least a sticker or something of like, the display when he's targeting the TIE fighters that we've seen in the movie. This whole area just seems a little unfinished to me. Like you just have those lines of plastic to kind of hold the figure in place, and I don't know, it just seems kind of bare bones. They could have just fleshed that out a little bit. Maybe, like I said, put a molded seat, maybe a little display with the TIE fighter on there, something like that. But again, I'm not unhappy with what we got. I definitely know that there's prices to consider and things like that. I feel like if they wanted to round it out to an even 50 and then put in a couple more bells and whistles, I think I personally would have been okay with that, but I can understand this is mostly targeted at kids, so they want to keep costs down because, they want to hit these parents and get them to buy these things. But I like it a lot personally. I think it's a lot of fun, and Yeah, not perfect. I mean, here's the thing: there are a lot of different Falcon toys over the years, and some have this plus or this minus, and they kind of have to weigh features versus cost, and I get it. So if you're not happy with this version of the Falcon, there's lots of different versions of the Falcon out there. But for what this is, for this play style and for this line, I think they did a pretty good job, and I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.